Uh, there is a book called No Matter What Happens, Life is what? Still Beautiful. Still beautiful. Imagine if you had just lost a loved one and a preacher comes home and tells you such a statement. Would you believe? No. Because it's unimaginable to say that life is still beautiful when you've just lost maybe the breadwinner. Life is still beautiful when you've just lost someone dear to you. But I also want to tell you what Enrique is telling us in this book. That no matter what happens, life is what? Still beautiful. There's so many stories and there's so many lessons that are drawn in this book that Enrique is writing for us, but I will give you only two stories from that book. One is a story of a lady who was having a family, a husband, and this woman who had reached a point when she was giving up in her marriage and she really had rage and hatred towards the husband. And she decided to look for help and she went to a psychologist. And when she reached there, she told the psychologist that I'm married, but I hate my husband. I really hate him. And I want something that I can do to revenge on him. And the psychologist said, oh, you want to revenge on your husband? Yes. Okay, here's the medicine. Go back home. Because you want to revenge, start doing things differently. If you come back home, make that tea. Prepare that hot water. Love him the way you never loved him, and then leave him. He will be hurt so much when you've left him and you have changed what you are doing. You are now in love with that man. So this woman saw that this was a good revenge because the woman she will have left the man in the verge of the sweet love and the serious love situation or maybe moment. So when she went back for some months, she did what the psychologist told him to do. And she started loving the husband. She loved the husband for months and came back to the psychologist that I have done what you had told me to do, and it has been months that you had mentioned, and now I'm here. So the psychologist asked, so what is your decision? I thought that you had said that I give you a medicine, and after that medicine, the dose is over, then you do what? You leave the husband. So the dose was over because the months that had been mentioned to her were now over, and she was supposed to leave this man. And the answer that this woman says is different. She says, after loving him for these years, this month, I've decided that I'm not going to leave him because I'm now in love with him. No matter what happens, what is it? Life is still beautiful. This woman went to the psychologist when she was in the verge of revenging and she was hating the husband so much. But the psychologist only gave her a little of the dose. That is so ironical. But the ironical answer and medicine made the life of this woman to change. Made the marriage that was going to be broken not to be broken. Another story that we are told there is of a man who was very confused and would complain every time. He would complain that the colleagues were not good, the colleagues were not working, the boss was arrogant, the work is not good and appealing and not paying so much. And he was the frustrated man ever in his life. Moving back to his house one of the days, he saw someone riding on a Porsche car. And he looked at that man and said, wow, just look at this man. He must be having a good job that can pay him to have such kind of a car. I wish I could have such a job. And immediately, the person who was driving this car stopped and was getting out of the car. Unfortunately or fortunately, this man changed his perspective. Immediately, he saw this man come out of the car. The man was lame. He only had one leg and a scratcher, but he was driving the what? The Porsche car. And this man said, oh, so this man is in a Porsche car, but he doesn't have all his legs. How unfortunate. And then he walked and went to some supermarket to buy some candy. While at that supermarket, the attendant talked to him so lovingly that he decided to make a story and a conversation with him. And at the end of it, he was like, oh, thank you, you're such a good man. And the attendant told the man that, yeah, I'm a good man, but I cannot see, I'm blind. And he's like, no, you can't be serious. This good and charming attendant and a lucrative attendant cannot be blind. How comes he's blind and he's so lovingly and so happy? And he said, no matter what happens, life is what? Still beautiful. Many times we have complained in our lives. We have complained of what we have, the little that we have, not knowing that there are some people who have much, who have a little, but they appreciate it. And there are some people who have much, but they are suffering in this what? In their situations. Not knowing that this little that we have, some people are also just looking for such kind of opportunity to have such kind of life that you're having. And so that book is a book that will encourage you in different ways. It has a lot of lessons that will help you to grow spiritually and even socially, mentally also. Many times we have not come with health books so much, many of them, but the two that we came with are sold. One of them I had mentioned that will also help you mentally, which is a little book called Restoring Mind and Healing Hearts. And then we have a book of diabetes. But diabetes is a disease that many have suffered from, and just because of our lifestyles. Our lifestyles have made us to have these current diseases, cancer, cervical cancer, malaria, many other diseases like diabetes, and they're just brought by the way we live, the way we reason, the way we act. Like we think so much, we have so much stress, and we get diseases kind of as ulcers and many other kind of diseases. And we're told that when we are in such a situation, when we have that cervical cancer, we have that HIV and AIDS, we have gotten pregnant with a third year, and he has left you to go for another fresher, and you are thinking of dropping out of school also, you're told life is still beautiful. No matter what happens, life is still beautiful. Many times I've met ladies, especially ladies, who have said, Pastor or Dolphin, I've tried dating, I've tried doing this, I've tried even talking in front of people, but I cannot because I'm afraid and I cannot do it. You think that you can't because you are having a low self-esteem. And no matter how you try, someone tells you no, you cannot. Or maybe you make a little mistake, people laugh at you and you say, mimi sitawahi fanya nini, enda uko mbele. Ila James anakuambia, just go take our visitor. And you're like, I've never been there. And then the first day that you're here, you make a mistake, and people laugh at you and you say, that is why I didn't want to do what? To go there. And your low self-esteem becomes a problem in your life that makes you to have be confined, and you don't want to interact with people, and you think that life is now over because of some things that happen in our life. Maybe the way you talk, the way you dress, the way your appearance is, can make you to have low self-esteem. This is a small book called The Little Book of Self-Esteem. You are worth it. You are worthy to do anything that others have also done. Many times you just have to be courageous and stand up and say, if so and so can do it, I can also do it. And you also don't just have to compare yourselves. In the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 26 and 27, if you read, we are reminded of how we were created in the image of God. We are created the same, you and me. The way we are different in nature, right now you can see me different and you are different, but we look alike, like our what? Like our Father. And so if we have been created in the image of God, what can make you not to do that which you are willing to do? What can make you not to pass your exams? Is it just self-esteem? No. No matter what happens, life is what? Still beautiful. Even if you are having that low self-esteem, just stand up and say, I will not sit down to see people stepping on me because of some accent, or because of some appearance, or because of some clothing that I wear. But I must stand up and say, I must also do it as others can do it also. And so we are told that low self-esteem can be caused by a negative view of the physical features. However, although unattractive features may cause an initial impression on others, these are mostly subordinated rapidly to personality qualities. When our personalities have been identified and we have identified it negatively, our self-esteem might be a problem to us. But if you read this book, you will get how Elise Hubbard encourages you not to have low self-esteem, but to be courageous in everything that you do, because you are being created in the image of who? In the image of God. The last two books that I'm talking about is some little books here. Many times when we have tough times, we don't sometimes have someone to share it with. Maybe you can share with the parents and the parents are too harsh. You can share with your friends and the friends laugh you off. Or maybe they tell others and so it is in the public domain. But this book, Little Prayers for Tough Times, is a book that you can have and just read. It is a book full of verses to encourage you and to give you hopes that everything will be okay. One of these pages, pages 90 and 91, says, "And the Lord, the one who encourages you," that is Isaiah 51. And 91 says, "I will comfort them and turn their sorrow into happiness." Jeremiah 31:13. That many times when you're down and you're looking like everyone has left you, our God will do what? Will comfort you and give you happiness. And lastly, God's little book of encouragement is a book that also encourages you. When you have